it up on their beach house's long driveway. Working with the surface irregularities had been its own fun challenge. There was nothing in his mind's eye that Austin couldn't render on paper and make it real, or twist it to make it unreal, surreal, better than real. But he never, ever gave a damn about the object he was drawing. Animal, vegetable, mineral, objects were objects. They captured light and pulled in shadows, and the rendering of those three-dimensional objects onto a two-dimensional surface was like meditation to Austin. It centered him, grounded him, reminded him that no matter what else in his life refused to bend to his will, art always did. Art always did what he told it, sooner or later. And yes, maybe the surge of pleasure he got at the sight of a powerful or experimental piece of art tripped some of the same switches in him that sex did. It just didn't usually make his dick hard. He was pretty sure he'd even drawn this model before. The guy had an interesting body, because he was pretty hairy, even if the gleam of his ginger scruff didn't transfer to the gray and black strokes and smudges of Austin's charcoal as he swept his hand over the paper in smooth arcs. Sketching was all about capturing the bigger moment, not the little details. Austin knew his own tendencies to get sucked into perfectionism, and the 5 or 10 minute poses that filled most of the life-drawing sessions were perfect for unhooking his brain from his ego. Every body was different to draw, and Austin liked the imperfect ones best. This guy was almost not interesting enough because his body was pretty good, and Austin liked the models best who were stick-skinny and all-angled bones, or overweight with the curves and folds of a generous body. But this guy, a few inches taller than Austin, which made him average for a guy, had some thick muscle on his arms and legs, and a stocky build that he'd have to work hard to keep from going to fat when he was an old man. Barrel chest, a stomach that might have a six-pack buried under the flesh of someone who enjoyed his meals. Big feet. Austin bit his lips to keep from smiling and kept his eyes on his sketch where he'd managed a damn lifelike rendering, including the big feet. And the big cock. Although big wasn't the right word there, since the guy looked totally average soft, which he was in the reclined pose Knapp had asked for first. Average, but thick. And that's enough time spent thinking about this guy's cock. Get a grip. He flipped his first sketch over the top of the pad and looked up, ready to refocus for a second try in however many minutes or seconds they had left to work with this pose. Knapp always kept them working fast at first to loosen up and let them settle into a more detailed drawing for the last half hour. The model was staring straight at him. And you'd think telling what color the guy's eyes were from across the room would be impossible, but it wasn't, because they were blue, blue, blue. Like the river at midday with the sun shining on it as Austin called out the beat and his 8-man rowing team sliced through the water in their racing shell. Blue eyes and lashes that were so thick they almost looked brown instead of auburn. The scruff on the guy's face was reaching beard-like proportions. This wasn't an I forgot to shave yesterday kind of accident. Someone was going full-on mountain man. Because it was a habit so deeply ingrained in his bones, Austin's hand started moving across the paper, the scritch of the charcoal soothing like nothing else. But that guy was staring at him with a hint of a smile on his face, visible only in the crinkles at the corners of his eyes, one arm draped over the back of the ancient Victorian sofa Knapp had probably scored from some theater department prop sale. The guy had one foot on the floor, leg extended, and the other knee propped up against the back of the couch, sprawling comfortably as if it didn't faze him for a moment to be buck naked in a room full of clothed students and local adults. The evening sessions were open to anyone who paid the nominal fee. Just staring at him. If Austin hadn't been in the middle of the fall season with the crew team and therefore off booze almost entirely, he might have scrolled back through his recent memories to see if he'd had some drunken hookup with the guy and forgotten his face. Although really, how could anyone forget a face like that? Between the grin that kept threatening to break out and the red-headed mountain man look, Austin was positive he wouldn't have forgotten that face. Not to mention that... Seriously, stop staring at his cock. Maybe what he needed to do was zero in on the thing, actually, since he couldn't keep his mind or his eyes off it. Stare at the man's dick and draw it a dozen times over again. Only the knowledge that that would look peculiar to Knapp on her perambulations. Yes, a page full of the model's cock and balls would look strange, Austin, remember that, kept him from doing just that.